All right, guys, Brian here with VetteSource, checking in on another day here in Southeast Texas, where we've actually got some sunshine, some other stuff working, so that's pretty cool. Finally got away from this rain. It seems like it's been raining for a month. It's really been probably a little less than 2 weeks, but you know how it goes when you're sitting in rainy weather all the time, and flooding becomes part of it. So today I'm out here playing around. I'm actually taking a little bit of looks at our Humpty Dumpty, the truck, which has now been upgraded, promoted to the Jolly Green Giant, now that it's back together again. If you guys hadn't seen, this was a truck I bought a few months ago, right when the freeze happened, and we went ahead and I reassembled it, put the motor and tranny back in it, got it all fired back up again. I've got one little nagging electrical issue, which is common with these. I've got to figure out, got to trace the wires from this is a transmission control module here going down to the engine control module. I'm getting a weird signal or requested torque signal failure, so I've got to figure this out and figure out what's going on. But this has been a good truck. Will be a really good truck. It'll be a great tow rig. It's got quite a lot of nice runs really nice. Really like, of course I don't have the exhaust hooked back up on it yet, but that's a 496 big block right there, 8100 Vortex, so it's actually going to be quite powerful. We're going to have a lot of fun with this truck, and I may see if I can integrate it a bit into my tow logs and other places I go to pick up cars, so you guys can kind of see the power that this big old massive gas engine has on this thing. But yeah, it's been fun. So we got that finished up. Almost finished up, I should say. I've still obviously got to put some exhaust on it, even though my kids would love to not have exhaust. But today, primarily this video is going to be, we're going to talk about overspray today. And overspray in relation to collectible cars and restored cars and things like that. Things that people kind of get in the weeds about, really. So if you don't know what I'm referring to when we talk about overspray, typically when a car is repainted, the cars are stripped down and all the things are removed. Emblems, side markers, headlight, anything that can come unbolted from the car is going to come off of there. You know, you've got even this little piece of molding, not molding, but weather stripping in between there, moldings here. Things that would naturally not supposed to have paint on them are going to get removed, right? Now, depending on where you take your car to get it painted, from the $6.99 Mako paint job, which this poor thing suffered from because they really painted over the original paint and didn't prep it correctly, but best running car in my fleet, to be honest with you. I love this thing. I still use this as a daily driver. To your absolutely ridiculous $10,000 to $20,000 collector car paint jobs, which frankly I'm going to leave that subject for another day. My thoughts on $10,000 paint jobs. That's the bad thing about holding the phone. So anyway, but overspray typically is parts that were supposed to be removed and didn't get removed, and then during the painting process, the repainting process, they get painted where they're not supposed to. So you can actually see right here, kind of cheesy, they actually painted on the molding right there, that black rubberized molding. There's overspray in this corner right there. This is kind of sun washed out, but you can see they really didn't make a lot of effort to do a really decent job on this car. Now I'd be willing to bet this was a one-owner car before I got it, that the lady had owned it the whole time. It's a 91 model. And I think she just trusted whoever she took it to, but they really did a bad job. So anyway, the topic of discussion today, overspray as it relates to Corvettes. So I had a gentleman the other day, or a couple weeks ago, he was watching one of the videos, and he was under the impression that the yellow LT-4 that I've featured on the channel quite a few times here had overspray on it, had been repainted, even though I know otherwise, simply because I've known that car since it was brand new. So I know exactly what's been going on with the car. I know where it's been. I know where it was sitting for, actually since 1998 when it quit being driven. But what I'm going to do is I will show you here on the other LT-4, which is another LT-4 we featured on the channel. This would be the high mileage LT-4 that we just acquired a few months back and explain to you where this misconception comes from as far as overspray relating to Corvettes, especially C4s. Now, one thing you need to remember is that the way these cars are produced and the way they're assembled, there really are no fasteners on the cars when they come through the assembly line. And with that being said, they shouldn't have too many painted fasteners. Now you see, like, these bolts here are painted, right? Because the doors are on the car. This is not painted. That was not on the car. So when the C4s came through the assembly line, okay, basically from the paint booth, they had the rear quarters put on them. They had the halo and the rear quarters were actually glued together one piece when they installed them from the factory. You had the door shells were put on them. The mirrors were not there yet. These were separate. The hood was on the car with the actual hood hinge assemblies, and the front bumper and the rear bumpers were on a separate card in front of them. I think both of them bumpers were there. But in the case of the C4s, nothing else that was they wanted to get paint on was actually on the car, so it was left off. Now here's where this interesting aspect of where my title obviously is your C4 has overspray from the factory, because I basically just contradicted myself. But here's the deal. Every bit of everything you see under this hood, including the underside of the hood, was at one time blue, the same color as the car. Even the frame rails, all the way back to here, the door jambs, this section here, all of it was blue. And then what they did was, once they painted it all blue, the one color, they came back and they did the blackout treatment. Now, that was where this gentleman was confused, because he was looking at the springs on the 96 and he saw yellow. So he assumed that the car had been repainted. And I had to explain to him that no, what happens was the blackout treatment for different cars was better on some cars than it was on others. Now, I'll tell you, this car, they did a good job, but even look right there. You see that blue paint right there? That's where they didn't get the blackout treatment done in it. In fact, I'm gonna tell you straight up, the blackout treatment on this car is much better than the blackout treatment on my 96. Now see, you see that's really kind of rough right there? That is not a straight edge. That's just where the cap went over to protect the blue, the aqua, that they didn't want to get painted black, and that's where it was right there. This one doesn't really have too much in the way of a lack of blackout treatment on it. So imagine from the factory, all this is just painted the same color. It's all got the coat of whatever exterior color the car was. I'm looking to find another spot, because I gotta tell you guys, this car must have been made on a Monday. There we go. There's some that's actually rubbed off. You can actually see the blue underneath the black. See that? So what happens is, guys will look at these. I thought I saw, oh yeah, see right there with the blue? This is kind of where they stopped, right there in this corner. And this is all left natural, the aqua blue. But guys will look at a Corvette that they're wanting to buy or something else of that nature, and they'll just assume it's got overspray, it's had paint work, and it's actually not true. See that there, where you've got an uneven line of blue right there? This is from the factory. This is the way these left the factory. In fact, see, that's actually got a little bit of clear run right there. That's factory right there. I can't really see much evidence that this car has ever been painted on. Now, it may have had a spot or two. The joke is, if you've got a Corvette, it's gonna have had paint work done on it at one point, because the problem is inherently there's another run in the paint right there. Corvettes are difficult to paint because they're fiberglass. They're not a metal substrate, so it's harder to get them to stick. In fact, when General Motors went to the water-based paint system, I want to say it was 93, it may have been 92, but there were Corvettes for a few months that were coming off the assembly line. They get to the dealers and the paint was just peeling right off of them in sheets, kind of like the Chevy trucks from that era, if you're familiar. So this is an interesting oddity. It's kind of a trivia thing, really, that people don't notice, because they just assume that there's no extra paint here, that this is just straight up black, and then aqua on the other side. I'm trying to find one other spot on the rail to show you, but man, I gotta tell you guys, this is an early car. This is a VIN number in the 20, no, this is right at a little over 2000 is the VIN number on this car. So this was built the first month of production, and they did a heck of a job with this one. Wow, I'm actually quite impressed. So even though it's a higher mileage, this is a really good car. I'm gonna have a few more videos on this one later on. But you know, this is one of those things too, people just get in the weeds over. They argue about it. They say, oh, my Corvette's perfect and this and that. And I used to tell people when I sold these new, these are not perfect cars by any stretch of the imagination, guys. They're awesome cars. They're super cool cars. They're fun, but they are far from perfect. If you want perfect, go look at the, you know, the highly technologically hand-built stuff, you know, Mercedes, Bentley, and Lincolns, things that they really take a lot of extra effort into to make them so-called perfect, and even then they're not perfect. But I have to admit, I'm sitting here as I'm talking, I'm looking, and I just can't find any more areas where there's overspray has the blackout treatment, which is the overspray, has come off the car or was not put on. So like I said, that's quite impressive. The yellow one, there are quite a few spots under the hood. In fact, the yellow one right inside, where was it at? I think it was right here. It's just like splattered black paint through there, barely covering the yellow. I saw it a few weeks ago because when the gentleman was talking with me on the comment section, I was kind of looking at my car again just out of curiosity, and I realized what he was talking about. Now, this isn't the first time I've heard this over the years. I even had a customer one time at the dealership accuse us of repainting a car because the blackout treatment wasn't done properly. And I had to explain to him. I don't think he even believed me then, but he still bought the car. Now the interesting thing too that I'll tell you that a lot of people don't know, partly trivia, is if you're familiar with the 96 LT-4, the Grand Sports, the blue with the white stripes, those cars were painted entirely white first, taken out of the line on their cart, run back through the paint booth, the white stripe was taped off, and then they repainted the entire car the Admiral Blue. No joke, that's how they did it, because it was easier for them. The tape work is more manual labor than just the straight up painting. So what they did was they just went ahead and repainted the small area of white that they needed to repaint versus having to do the whole thing back over again or tape off more of the section of the car. So interesting the way they decide how to do things. And of course they know because they're working on the assembly line. But anyway, that's pretty much all we've got today. Like I said, I finally got some nice weather to work with here, so we're going to be doing some more work. Got an interesting non-Corvette I'm going to be showing you guys, taking a bit of time to mess with over the next week or so. So that'll do it for today. Wrap it up. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next time. See you then.